Everybody, it's almost 11:45. Welcome to the Underswell live show. I'm Derek Sabori. Trying this out. I tried it last week, and I'm not gonna lie. I failed. I had a fumble. I thought I was live. I was not live, and I kind of went through the whole act. I spent 45 minutes talking about some things, career journey. I was going through the list of all the different jobs I had, and I thought it was a fun conversation. And I was waiting for people to join in. And today we're going to wait for people to join in as well. And I'm not sure if they will. We are just getting started with this show, but the point is to keep this show going. But point being, last week when I launched the show, did it live, I hit all the buttons and I thought it was working just right, but come to find out it wasn't working right. So today, let's hope that things are better and make sure that everything is good. So let's see here. I want to see if everything is good on my end, and it looks like it is. So what we're doing today is I'm hoping that people can jump in and people will ask some questions about their careers, and it's a good opportunity for people to discuss things that they're going through, issues that they might be having, or decisions that they need to make in their careers. Having and building a career can be a tough thing, and it takes time. And I had this thought this morning in my mind that was, we're always thinking of what we can put on LinkedIn or what kind of post we can do, especially if you're selling a service or selling, a product like I am. And it was just this idea of struggling to build a career, question mark. And then the next line was give it some time. And I think that's really the message that I want to drive home, that it takes time doing all these things. And a funny story is that, and let's see real quick here. I want to make sure before I tell this funny story, making sure that people can jump in here with me, and I think they can. Yeah, so if you're in, I'm really hoping that I see the way that people can ask questions or jump in. So the hope is that I can get people to jump in to the conversation with me. So if you're out there and you want to jump in, feel free to leave a comment, ask around. I want to get you on the show and I want to get you in here. All right. So the story that I had though when we're talking about long term journeys is that somebody reached out to me yesterday, and it was for a potential business opportunity, and it was from a interaction that we had, I don't know, 12 years ago, maybe more, and we had judged a competition, a high school competition together, and somehow we sat next to each other, and for whatever reason, I made an impact on this person. And it was great, and we had pinged a couple times, had a conversation on LinkedIn for a couple other things, but it was really nice to know that just now, almost 10 or 12 years later, whatever it's been, that we are just now maybe turning that into something that could be more than just that first conversation that we had. So it can take a long time, I think, to really nurture the relationships that you have and to network and get out there and build on those. So be sure that you do it. Get started. So if you are young in your if you're young in your journey, just know that sort of every interaction, every conversation helps and builds. And a lot of times when I'm talking to people, especially in this new work that I'm doing, focused on, sort of developing and refining careers, most people that have been doing it for a long time they remind themselves, and the conversation we have is that it's like building a wall, like a brick wall, right? It's one brick at a time, and every brick though is something that is important and it plays a crucial role in there. And so if you're sort of waiting on the sidelines to build your wall and saying, you know what, I'm just sort of waiting, I'm waiting for the right position or the right opportunity, and you're not just taking that brick and putting it in there and then putting another brick in there, another brick in there, you're never going to have the wall. So start putting bricks in there. It just takes time, and careers will take a long time. And a lot of what I'm doing is inspired just sort of, I think, by my own journey. Many of you may know that I spent years, these last 15 years or so, developing my personal and professional brand as somebody in the sustainability space, as a sustainability expert. And I would still position myself there. I still do a lot of work in the sustainability space. We've got the School of Understanding, which is my sustainability course that I put people and brands through. Shout out to New Balance, who's got a team going through it right now. It's a great cohort program where you go through the online course. We meet every week, but I really like sitting in that room with those teams, for example, with those cohorts, and leading discussions and having conversations and asking questions. But even though I've developed that persona and that reputation for being somebody in sustainability, I look back and I think the thing that have been best at and am most proud of is kind of the piecing together of my career. And it's not until you get much further down the road that you look at that resume and go, wow, I really pieced it together. And I used to give this presentation at schools, and every now and then when somebody would ask for a career talk, it was this idea of it being sort of unintentionally intentional, sort of accidentally intentional, if you will. And I had a picture of Forrest Gump sitting on a bench. And if you've seen that movie, he sort of stumbles into one good thing after another. And you sort of start to wonder if it's just sort of luck or is there a plan to it? And I look back and I do sort of think that maybe there was a plan. And I think if there wasn't a plan, it was based on my approach to things and to just saying yes. And I did a post the other day that was talking about the three things that I did when I was young that I'm not mad about, that I really look back on and say, hey, this was a good thing that I did. And one of them being just sort of taking that early job, taking that job that I thought I might be able to do better, at the time, or that I didn't think was paying me enough, or that maybe I felt like it could be below me. When I graduated from college, I had a degree from a good university, and the first job I took in the space that I wanted to be at, or at least I took a step into an industry in a space that I thought I might want to be at, was answering the phones at the front desk basically for free. They paid me some t-shirts and some hats and some stickers, but I knew it was an opportunity to get my foot in the door and to start meeting some people. And so once I stayed there for I think it was a few days that I was covering the front desk, but I started asking around and trying to get that opportunity into another department to help over there. And I wrote in that post that what I started doing, my first job there was entering orders, sort of using a 10 key, punching in orders. And we would get the orders from our sales reps back then. They would come in via fax. We would pull them up, and you had to enter them into the system. So things have changed so much, right? But I think it's important to know your history. And so I would enter them in, and I was really good on that 10 key because I was a waiter through college. So that's how I put myself through college, which is another tip that I will eventually touch on. But entering those orders really quickly, the CFO at the time, he was kind of the company was very small. And this is the brand Volcom, right? If you know the brand Volcom, surfing, snowboarding, skateboarding, art, music, fashion. I was in the apparel industry, but he sort of was checking in on me. He's like, wow, you're really good on that 10 key, right? He's like, you're pretty good at, quick. I'm like, well, this is what I do for a living at this point, is enter orders in really quick with all my tables. But I took that first role because that led to me then organizing some file cabinets and helping out in a different department. And before you know it, the co-founder of the company came and said, hey, I see you've been working hard. I had also put my resume on his desk at one point. I saw this opportunity the vibe was changing there at the company. So I put my resume on his desk, and he, took notice of it and said, hey, I'm taking notice of the work that you're doing, what I hear about you, and I think I've got a job for you. That job, though, was something that I'd never done. I had no interest, not necessarily interest, but I just didn't know if I could do it. I take that back. I knew I could do it, but I had to prove to him, I guess, that, hey, I was the person for the job, even though I didn't have any experience in it. And so I got out of my comfort zone and I took that first job purchasing fabric and trims. All of this to say that each of those jobs that I wasn't quite sure of, or it wasn't exactly what I wanted to be doing. Fun fact is, what I really wanted to be doing there at Volcom was doing t-shirt graphics and being on the art department. And that was my angle I was trying to get in at. But that's not what was presented to me, right? So I was sending in graphics and working with the head artist over there. Shout out to Ethan Anderson. And he would always kind of push back a little and say, well, not quite, don't really see it, but maybe. He was really nice about it. But eventually my path turned into something different. Those early jobs, though, the jobs that I didn't think were the ones I wanted, or that didn't pay me as much as I wanted to, because at the time I was making pretty good money as a waiter and sometimes bartender. And I had to kind of step back and take this job for my full-time job and take kind of a pay cut in the early days in the hopes that it would pay off. And it did. But if I wouldn't have taken those early jobs, or if I had felt like, this is too below me, or that's not really what I want to be doing, who knows what would have happened. But those yeses turned into a 20-year career there at Volcom. Led to a career in the apparel industry. All of that eventually led for me to get into sustainability. And, I was able to become a sustainability professional. And it just opened up so many doors. And I had written in the post as well that those 20 years while I was there at Volcom were very entrepreneurial, right? So I sort of am somebody who gets what I call like a 5-year itch, kind of a 3-year itch. And some of you might have this where you get to a point where you're at a company or in a role just going, I just feel like there's something else out there, something else I should be doing, or something else that I want to do. I sort of want to break free. The reason I stayed there at Volcom for so long is that they really gave me an opportunity to keep reinventing myself and taking a new role. So I had that opportunity to purchase fabric and trims, right? I was in charge of purchasing all the fabrics that our products were made of, ordering them from all different parts of the country. We made everything domestically at the time, so I would bring them in, started a warehouse, worked with a team there, and we just started, one by one, building a program, a raw materials program, and it was good. It was really good advice. So, what do we got here? I'm gonna pause here because I got Jeff Cobalt. Jeff was recently on the show doing a podcast, a professional podcast profile, and if you don't know Jeff, go check him out because he's doing some great work. He's had solid advice to not worry about taking something lower. Sometimes we take a step back to take two forward. And he's absolutely right. And that's exactly what it is this idea that you've got to know, you've got to have your eye sort of on the long-term vision, have your eye out to the horizon constantly, and always be working towards your North Star. And this goes back to that idea of taking, those 5-year itches and finding a place, either listening to your gut and taking that leap when it's time, or, find an environment in a company that'll allow you to do that. And that time at Volcom was there were a lot of opportunities, right? Every 5 years or so, I would start to get that itch and go, what do I need? And for me, it was going back and getting my MBA. I decided it was time to go back to school because I got another opportunity to manage a department there, manage a program. Figured I needed some management skills, and I was moving more to the business side of the organization. So that was, for me, that was a great placeholder, right? It took me 3 years to get through that degree. I lasted in that job for about 5 or 7 years before it turned into another opportunity. And then the sustainability opportunity came along. I was doing planning and analysis. Every role that I had didn't exist before I jumped into it, which was a really fun thing. So I was able to be entrepreneurial inside the organization. And being an entrepreneur is always what I've wanted to do. And I think I do kind of wish that I would have listened to myself a little bit earlier, perhaps. Being a late stage entrepreneur comes with its own set of hurdles, but hey, we're doing it, and it's been good, and it's been fun. So let's see, back to the advice. That was one of the things I said was taking that early job, knowing that it potentially will pay off. Another bit of advice that I put in there was getting out of your comfort zone. And I think even doing this, I've got a small audience right now. I have to convince myself, like, we just have to keep showing up. I've got a great line of guests that are coming up every Friday, starting next week, and we're booked out now through almost to June. But in the interim, I had told myself that this show was going to start on Fridays in March, and so here we are. I'm just reminding myself to get in there, do it, show up, keep going, and do not sort of procrastinate. So I'm trying really to take my own advice, but it was getting out of your comfort zone, and this, it can be really tough to put yourself out there, put yourself on camera. I necessarily don't have trouble with that. I'm kind of it's what I like to do, and it's where I like being. I like sort of being on the at the front of the room, giving the talks. My family always teases me for it, but I know it's not for everybody, and it can be really tough. I've hit up people, or they've hit me up about doing a podcast profile, and they're like, I don't like my voice. I don't like how I am on camera. Or even people after they do it are concerned with maybe the way they responded, the way they answered the questions. And I get it. It takes practice, but you do not get to be good at it. You don't get to be good at handling interviews, answering the questions on the spot, being dynamic, showing your true personality, you being animated, whatever you want, or fine tuning it, right? You might also watch a video of yourself and just go, oh gosh, my hands are all over the place. I'm doing too much. We can always get better. But I think the more you do it, the more you get up on stage, the more you're in front of people, the more you do those interviews, the more you get on camera, the more refined it becomes, the better it is, the more your voice starts to sound like, oh, okay, I hear my voice and it doesn't sound weird anymore. Um, I do all my editing of all my own videos, right? So I have to constantly listen to myself. And there came this point where all of a sudden I was like, huh, it's actually not too bad. I'm okay with it. So hopefully you are too. So thanks for being here. Even if you're watching live, or even if you go back and watch the recording, I'm just happy to have you. But what we're doing is I'm trying to open it up. I want to have people on. If you've got any questions or want to talk, if you just want to come on and talk with me and have a conversation, maybe about an opportunity that has presented itself, almost like some live counseling here, or some live friendship, just a live conversation, just connection. I think it's really important. My goal is to get to a point where we're doing live shows in person, right? And we've got people together, and we're networking, and we're connecting, and we're talking with each other, and we've got people on stage, and we're sharing advice and taking bits of wisdom and inspiring each other and motivating each other to keep moving forward. But all of this is from the direction that I'm headed, where I'm really focused on, like I said, career developments, but developing your career, refining your career. And as you do that, start to bring your career to life and highlight your skills, the progress you're making, and really get in there and start to talk about, who you are and what you're doing. We've got a couple people in here, so I'm gonna do something real quick and make sure that if there's a way for you to get on the show with me, in case anybody wants to. So I'm going to give a link just in case. I'm going to put it just because I'm kind of figuring out all the tools here. Here's the link. Here's the link to join. Because I think there's a way that you can be on the camera if you want to jump on, or if you want to be on, ask some questions. But put your questions in the chat. I'm open to discussing anything. And if you've ever looked at my LinkedIn bio, you'll see that I've got this winding career path that I get really that I am finding is actually not so abnormal, right? There was a time when I really felt a little insecure about my path, because I've dabbled in so many different things. And I did a post the other day that was really talking about all the different things that I've learned from each of the trades that I have dabbled in. I like to kind of call myself sort of this hyper generalist, right? Where I have been good at a bunch of different things, but I never really felt like I just kind of kept doing the same thing over and over. And I'm still trying to decide if that was the right thing or if it wasn't. I'm leaning into the idea that I'm really happy with the way that it has gone, and we can start to piece together the learnings from each of those bricks that I talked about earlier. Each one of those is like a nugget of experience and connections and wisdom that you gain. So I would say that it's important to get started and start piecing those things together, and that whatever we're doing, you can learn from whatever situation you're in right now, right? So if you are starting off in a new job and you're really being challenged, and you're maybe not happy with the team, you don't like your boss, you don't like the commute, whatever it is, there are things that you can learn and takeaways from that. And so I just urge you to just keep stacking those takeaways, filing them away, and kind of going, okay, I'm going to come back to these. There are learnings from them, And for me, that's sort of been the big thing. But I do know that that takes time to finally get to a point where like, okay, I can start piecing these all together. So, um, got a comment here from Jeff. If everything you're striving for suddenly disappeared, your goals, your achievements, your titles, who would you be without them? Yeah, that's exactly it. So, hey, I know this guy.
Hey Derek, good to see you. There's no way I was gonna pass on this opportunity to hop in here.
James
I'm so good.
Kelly, a former student of mine at Orange Coast College. And so, James, first of all, I'm so stoked that you jumped on because this shows me that it's working, that my system and tools are working here. Because I was like, is this working? So, thank you for doing it. Thanks for being here. Dude, what do you want to talk about? Give me a couple
Oh,
minutes.
yeah, I mean, just like last time I saw you in the summer, I made the big connection with the team that I joined, and I've been
Mm,
getting some retail experience now while I'm in school, and just like kind of embracing that entrepreneurial spirit you were talking about. I'm
yeah.
doing some printing stuff outside of my work, and it's just been a crazy journey. And mainly, I'm focused on like getting into designing stuff through AI,
Yep.
and it's just been a wild space to navigate. It really feels like the Wild West, and it's hard to like monetize it. And yeah.
And I want to hear about that because, James, I know when I saw you, I was really impressed with your AI work. And I feel like I would imagine you're hopefully starting to get some good clients because the work you're doing is really impressive and it was good. But I want to rewind and tell people that, you were a young student at Orange Coast College when we first met. You came and we were going through the sustainability courses with me. And I didn't see you then again for not till whatever it was, 5 years later or something like that. And it was so cool to see you. Just I was like, oh dang, like you had your website, you're doing all this AI work, and it was just great to see that evolution of you. So tell us if you can though, what exactly you're doing and what the business is that you do.
Yeah, so I guess in a concise way, I'm using like taking drawings and like digital Adobe Illustrator assets and
Hmm.
bringing them into AI visualization tools. I mainly use VizCom and Newark.
Okay.
So
What is that
yeah,
good for?
and
What for people that don't know, like what is it? Who would use this? What is it good for?
Um, they're good for like PDP assets
Okay.
for like soft goods and mainly like general products. And they're great for like dealer books and like pitches to people when you haven't officially manufactured your product and to
Yeah.
like give people an idea of something.
And so even like I think you were doing footwear and different things. So if somebody's a footwear designer and like that's a lot of money, a lot of resources going back to sustainability, a lot of energy waste that's created just to make one shoe to say, would you buy this shoe? If we made them, you're
Right.
saying, hey, I can use AI and I can give you this killer image that you may not even know is not real, and people can place their order off of that, right? So it saves everybody time, energy, resources, and money, I would think.
Yeah, exactly. It's been pretty amazing to like get the feedback from industry professionals who are so excited and open my mind to avenues that I can apply it to. It's been pretty amazing these past couple months.
And I've got a question here. A shout out to Reed Sheldon, who I worked with over at Vulcan for many years. I know he's going. Reed, I want to be. I'm interested to see where you're going with this. Hang tight, James, because we've got a question about differences in workplace culture and way of doing things after you leave one place and go to another. For you, James, how has it been being an entrepreneur, and sort of what advice do you have for people who want to go out on their own and do something and build a business and get out there and sell themselves?
I would say number one is like networking and like in person and like just kind of like finding like some real human interactions outside of the internet has really been like a big jump starter for me. Especially
Mm.
like our community of like Costa Mesa is like so rich in that. That's been like profound for me and like been the only reason I'm able to get clients.
Do you have any shout outs for any particular events, organizations, or
Yeah,
places that
shout
you've
out to Connecting Things.
connecting
That
things?
is amazing. It's a quarterly event
Okay.
that's now at School Candy, and that's where I got my first in the industry. I met Douglas Davidson, who goes by the
Yeah.
Canvas Worker, and
Yep.
he really helped me like push myself in the industry.
Shout out to the Buffalo, right? Is that what he goes by? The
Yeah, the
Buffalo?
Brown Buffalo. Shout
Brown
out to Brown
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Brown
Yeah.
Buffalo. Yeah, making killer bags. And I love that he's doing that, right? Getting people in person to come into the workshop and just at any level come and start to learn how to build things. It's so important, and I'm so glad you brought that up. Just getting out there and connecting with people and networking. James, funny story. When I was young, I used to actually, for whatever reason, the word networking like irritated me. It bugged
Yeah.
me. I don't know why, and I wish it hadn't. And it wasn't until years later that I'm just like, God, the power of networking is it's everything. That is your net worth. Your net worth is your network. You know, your network is your net worth eventually. So you're finding that it's been important for you.
Yeah, but I can definitely relate to that idea of it feeling like a hassle, like, oh, I got to go put my 2 cents in and like do this networking thing. But when you really get something out of it, it's like monumental and you just want to like share it with everybody. And
Yeah.
actually, this past week, I went and talked at Michelle and Ben Soto's classes about
Okay.
like my AI skills and just like generally the power of networking and how it like I wouldn't be anything with the AI skills if I never went and talked about it.
Wow. And Ben Soto is over at Igloo. Is he still at Igloo?
Yeah, he's over at Igloo and he teaches this really cool class just about like prototyping and stuff. It seemed
Okay.
like super collaborative. Like I wish I was in there. It looked great.
Really?
Yeah.
And so did you end up going back? Did you transfer out or did you go through OCC? What was your pathway after that? And somebody just put the link here to viscom.ai. Is that one of the tools you use?
Yeah, that's my number one tool. It's like probably the number one AI that's evolving every month with consistency. The
Mm,
first AI I started on was Newark, and I haven't seen much like evolution in it. So I kind of stick to Viscom, and that's what I promote.
got
But
it.
back to your question.
Yeah, back to my question. Oh, to school. Did
Oh yeah,
you?
school.
Yep.
So during the pandemic, I had already completed your sustainability certificate and I
Hmm.
wanted to do the apparel construction, but it was hard to do it from home. So I got my general ed and now I'm studying industrial design at Cal State Long Beach.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
How much longer do you have to go?
I got this is my second semester of my junior year.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna do my junior show on April 16th, kind of demonstrate like the design thinking I've learned and the portfolio I've built. I'm really excited.
Awesome.
I got a
Awesome.
I got a Viscom 3D model in front of me. That's this helmet conceptual project that I'm gonna be displaying. So that's just how like I'm using AI at school compared to my work.
Killer. So you design it in one place and then you can print it out and turn those into real products as well.
Yeah, so through Viscom you can generate like a 2D image and then they have a tool that will turn it into a 3D model, which is basically like a mirrored reflection. And then you can save it and I have like a 3D printer at home and print it in
Killer.
less than an hour.
James, what are you thinking, I guess, long term when you look out to kind of the rest of your career? Because something I'm really fascinated by is just, young people. How are they looking at careers these days? Sort of, what is your horizon? Are you looking just sort of like just to get through Long Beach, or are you thinking 3 years ahead, 5 years ahead? Are you thinking 20 years ahead? Where's your mind at when you're young?
I would say like my mind is like realistically 3 years, and I'm trying to think 5 years ahead. I'm really like grateful. I feel like I've established myself here. You know, I like came from Louisiana, so this was like a real fresh start moving to California, and I'm hoping to get into designing like accessories, hard goods, hats, but also like use my AI tools and I'm like struggling to figure out how I'm gonna blend those things because they feel like
Mm,
two different industries. But I like playing with multiple things and not doing the same thing every day.
yeah. All right. Well, put your where can people
Yeah, I'll
find
put
you?
my at on the Instagram.
Yeah, please do. Please do. And I'm stoked that you stopped by and said hello. I appreciate it, man. Really good to
Oh, a
hear from you.
hundred percent. Oh,
Yeah,
and
but
just a
yeah.
heads up about how people join, I did have to download an app, but
Oh,
it was
okay.
super easy. Once the app downloaded, the hyperlink like brought me right through.
Did you go through LinkedIn or through Riverside?
I copied the link you put in the comments, and
Uh-huh.
then it just
Okay.
like took me to the iPhone application website.
Got it. Okay, cool. Thanks for
Yeah.
that. I appreciate it.
No doubt. Well, sweet. Thanks for having me.
All right,
Love you. You're the
James.
best.
Thanks, man. Good to see you, man.
Good.
Talk to you later. Well, that was cool. That was great to have James stop by. Appreciate that, and that's exactly what I was hoping for. Man, that makes me feel really good because that was how this is supposed to work. So super stoked that James was able to stop by. Um, Reed put a question in here. He said, "What were some of the biggest differences in workplace culture and way of doing things post Volcom you had to adjust to after leaving Volcom? It was such a unique place to work. It's a great question. Volcom was so unique, I think, during the time that I was there because it was the growth rate was just insane, right? We went from, I mean, when I started there in 95 ish, and they were founded in 91. So it was a small 4-year-old company. I think there were between 20 and 30 people all together there working at the company. We were all in one little building, and it was just sort of this meteoric rise of growth, and we kept growing, and everything we did worked, and we just kept going. So it was super fast paced. Um, because it was a unique opportunity for me, though, because I got there when it was a small team, I didn't, and because I was young and didn't sort of, and this goes to my video the other day when I talked about, asking co-founder Richard Wolcott's father to lunch when it's like, oh, what gave me the right? I don't know, but he was so gracious and he took it. But I think because I was young and sort of naive, which was probably a good lesson to take, the company was young and growing. Everybody was sort of doing everything. It was very much kind of like in startup mode. I think that allowed for there to be very few barriers in terms of, oh, well, that's the CEO. And this may not have been everybody's experience. I just felt like as I was getting promoted, I really felt like I had a good, strong connection to leadership. There were not, the hierarchy wasn't quite there yet. So I think that developed a culture where I felt like I could always walk into somebody's office. I could always voice my opinion or my concern. Um, you could have a friendly relationship with people. So I think I've always taken that and sort of assumed that it should be the same everywhere else. Um, and sort of knowing that you had a direct insight and a direct lead into what leadership is thinking. That was one thing I had to kind of go, oh, it doesn't always work that way in different places. And I think that was the thing. I think the culture of Volcom during those years was, I mean, we had a skate park, as Reed knows, we had a skate park in on the facilities. At one point, it was like inside the office. In one of the offices, we just kind of broke it out. There was a half pipe there. We would all go surfing at lunch, before work, after work. You might find a group going up, leaving a little bit early to go snowboarding. We were a riding company. So the culture was that it was you work hard. It's that old adage, right? It's kind of cliche, but you work hard, you play hard. I remember, back then I called my mom one time and she was asking, like, how's your new job at this place? What is it called again? I said, oh, it's called Volcom. How is it? I go, Mom, it's amazing. I'm out surfing at lunch, and everybody, it seems like half that office is down there. This doesn't mean that everybody surfed, right? You had people that didn't, but the leaders, the CEOs, my boss, the president, there was a lot of people that surfed. And I remember one day I'm out there and we're at 45 minutes, we're 55 minutes. I'm looking at my watch like I should probably wrap it up to get back. It's a very short commute, so you could get, in and out and be down in the water and be back to the office. And I mean, a fair amount was an hour and a half. You could probably do it in. But I remember I'm like, now we're at an hour and 15, hour and 20. The waves were really, really good though on this particular day. But I'm looking around, CEO is over there, president's over there, COO, everybody is out, and half of my team is out over there. They're looking at me. I'm like, hey, I guess let's just keep going. And it was just that culture, that was very unique, and you're not always going to find that. But there was this trust that we were all kind of bonded in that, and that was going to make us stronger as a team. That it ultimately started to change though as the company went public, and then the company was acquired, and all of I think what the surf industry is going through right now. I mean, you can read about that from everybody's different commentary. Kind of watched it all change, right? And we started chasing the bigger orders, and we were doing less of it sort of our way, our particular way, and really wanting to have our unique voice and really starting to cater a little more to what bigger customers wanted. We started to chase the orders a little bit, and all of a sudden, maybe fewer people. It was a smaller group of people that were always surfing, but I don't know, one thing that I really appreciate about Richard Wolcott or Woolley was that he as I started to take things a little too serious, maybe perhaps, or I went back from my MBA, which they helped me with, which was amazing. Um, I was leading a team that was growing. I led the product and design team, and I mean, it was very, very busy. There was a lot of very long days, long weeks. But it was fun. I was surrounded by amazing, amazing people that I still, keep in touch with and see every now and then. And we just pick up right where we were. But I remember just being so stressed out. And we used to do our sales meetings that we would have to, our team, the design team and the product team would have to basically design, sample a line, which is manufacturing the products, working with your vendors and your suppliers, going from concept to fit samples, to finish samples, to salesman samples, a small mini run of all the products that could be sold and delivered to our whatever we had, like 40 something sales reps. So we had to do this small little production run of a big line of, I don't know, 40 different categories of products with, anywhere from 10 to 30 different SKUs on each one times 4 colors. It was crazy, but it was very stressful. And we had a short window to get it designed, developed, sampled, and landed so that we could show up to a sales meeting and walk through the entire line in a really nice way. T-shirts, fleece, denim, pants, accessories, you name it. It was all there. So that was a lot of work. And it's one thing to have a sales meeting that is on site where everything is being done. It's another to have to take all of that and go and do an off-site sales meeting. That would mean you had to get everything, had to land from all the different countries that you were ordering it from. You had to pack it up, sort it, get all of your materials, your sales and pitch materials together, and then go up to wherever we would go. I mean, we would do sales meetings up at Mount Hood, in Oregon. We would go to God, where did we go to? Up to Mammoth, to go. It always felt like the snow ones were the ones where we went away. Going for European sales meetings as well, but these sales meetings where we had to pack things up and go and take them off site was really stressful and really hard. And I remember one time I pushed back on Richard once. I was sort of voicing like, I don't want to have the sales meeting off site if there's a chance. Like, let's just do it here because it's easier. It's better for us. And Richard came to me and he kind of came up next to me and he's like, Derek. He said, I know you're frustrated and I know it's tough on you guys. He's all, but what kind of company are we? I was like, I don't know. We're Volcom. Like we're Volcom. We're a clothing company. He's like, we're a riding company. He's like, we're going riding. And I was like, that to me was awesome. And it kind of like, I'm like, yeah, he's right. And that's what makes him, a great leader for this company, because I was like too getting a little too corpo in terms of what we used to call it, in terms of like, let's just make it easy and make it more efficient. He was like, we got to go ride and we got to keep the spirit alive and we got to bring our team together and go and bond. And for me, those days were really tough because we put all of this effort, take all of the product, we'd pack it up, we'd ship it up, we'd get it in there, we'd unload it, stay up late, getting out the line. And because we were all bonding and people were riding all day and having a great time, coming back from riding, showing up late, and starting to have beers, and it never got crazy because there was respect for the work, of course, but it just was like it just didn't feel the same, and I had to really learn to like, okay, just be cool with it and enjoy it and know that you're here. And that culture there was amazing and very unique, and I think I learned a lot from it. I think I learned how to get through challenges, how to, meet deadlines, how to stay on budget. I mean, we had every sort of emotion went through there, because we rode that wave up until we were a public company, watching the company go public and the stress that came along with the quarterly calls and having to provide color as it was every quarter in terms of what's selling, what's not, what are we hearing from customers, what are our peers and competitors doing. Going through that, working with getting the big orders from the big retailers was always something that we were trying to do. Keeping up with what your competitors were doing, the newest board short from Hurley, or the newest jeans that were coming out from Quick, and why isn't ours like that? So it was stressful at times, but gosh, but we also had just such great moments with all of our team and our athletes, and Sean White coming to the building after he was a gold medalist, and just having constantly kind of either celebrities or musicians or artists always in the building. It was just such a place. And doing a little reminiscing in my last few minutes here, going back to the culture of what it was like at Volcom and how it compared to other places. I guess my short answer for Reed here is that it didn't compare, nothing compares to it. I don't think there's anything that you could compare to that wave that we went through in every bit of emotion, right? For me, I was married while I was there. I had my kids while I was there. I went back and did a fully employed MBA program that took me 3 years. That was one of the hardest things I ever did because we were at like peak stress of building that company, and I was doing an MBA, and it was just exhausting. But we went through all of it, the wins and the losses. Then the company was acquired by Caring, and that was awesome for me because Caring was building this great global sustainability program for all of their brands. And they immediately were like, "Hey, you're doing some work already on this. Come with us. Start coming out to Paris every week." My passport was so full from all of my time at Volcom, whether it was design trips to Japan or working with licensees in Australia or in France or going to sales meetings in Switzerland or going to factories in India or Bangladesh or China or visiting new factories in South Korea or going on surf trips to Fiji and in Tavarua. I mean, I just got to go everywhere. And so I can't even imagine all of that being replicated. And the parties, the premieres, the movie events, it was unlike any time that I think since. And for those that were there, they know. And the organization has gone through so many changes. So many of the brands have gone through changes. They've been acquired by capital groups, and now the situation with Liberated going bankrupt. And I went to the office where Liberated was, where Volcom originally was, and walked it the other day because my son works there. So it's been really fun to have a second generation somebody working there at the office. He's in the retail store, working in the back warehouse. But it was so tough and so sad to see everything gone. All of the stuff is gone. Everything's being sold out. All the people are gone. They've all moved on now to either the new licensors or new companies, or they're looking for jobs. And just that history that was there, it was tough. It was tough to see it and just to have all those memories come flooding back in. So to all my colleagues, my former colleagues while I was at Volcom, to any of those that were at any of those brands under the Liberated wheelhouse, to the Liberated team, to all of you, I know it's been a tough time, and just hearts out to you, and thanks for all the memories, thanks for the great products, and yeah, best of luck. So appreciate it. That was fun having a guest come on, having some questions. And next week, like I said, we've got some guests that are lining up. And I've got guests every week. Every Friday, we're going to have guests on the show. And we're going to leave it open like this. So it's going to be live. You can still jump in and have conversation with us and ask your questions. And that's the whole point. I want to help people sort of refine their careers and develop their careers in a meaningful way, and just know that you don't have to do it alone, that you may have questions. And I want to get people starting to think about 3 and 4 and 5 years out, because once you get into your 50s, you may not feel that old, but it's like things change. And it's going to be really interesting to see how things change in the next 20, 30 years for all of us. So yeah, this is a career talk show. It's a career talk show, and I'm Derek Sabori, and this is the Underswell. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next week. And for now, make sure to see me over on LinkedIn. Make sure to check out if you're into sustainability and any of your companies or brands, or you're at somewhere where you've got a team that is starting to tackle sustainability, you don't know where to start, come put them through our School of Understanding sustainability program. So this episode is brought to you by the School of Understanding at the Underswell. Go check it out, theunderswell.com/SOU. Or if you want to, you want to elevate your LinkedIn profile or your resume, you want to bring it to life and add your voice to it, come do a professional podcast profile with me where I get you on the show, we do a one-on-one, and I interview you in a way that your resume comes to life, and we showcase what your personality is like, all the great work you've done, and just how valuable you will be to a team going forward when you get hired. So that's it. I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much, and enjoy the weekend. See you next time.